This is Dr. Temple Grandin visit with her today. Your talks are always great. Your movie was great. What did you think about the job that Claire Danes did?
Well, I think Claire Danes did a really good job of becoming me in the 60s and 70s when I was a teenager and getting my business started.
Well, Doug's two girls loved the show. Everybody I've talked to loves it. Did you enjoy the whole process?
Yeah, it was really interesting, and everybody was really dedicated to it. Emily Gerson-Sains, the head producer, is the mother of an autistic child, so she really wanted to make this movie be right. It's very accurate in terms of showing autism, how I'm a visual thinker, how anxiety problems, sensory oversensitivity.
At about age 5 is when you started to make your transition over from...
Well, I was fully verbal by age 5, no speech at age 3 and a half to 4. I can't emphasize enough the importance of early educational intervention. I mean, you got to work with these kids really young, a lot of hours. The worst thing you can do with a young autistic kid is just leave them to do their self-stimming and tune out.
Well, you're called the person who thinks like a cow. Cattle are your favorite animals, I've heard you say.
The thing is animals are sensory-based thinkers. You know, I think in pictures. Animals don't think in language. They think in pictures, think in sounds, think in touch sensations. It's sensory-based thinking. It's not word-based thinking. Being a visual thinker, that helped me in my work with animals.
Sure. You work with other animals than
Yeah,
cats?
I work with pigs and sheep too.
Dogs and cats, any at all?
A little bit more with cattle.
I have some dog problems you might be able to help me with at home.
What kind of dog problems?
Getting them to behave and do what we want them to do, respond when they're young. We have a new puppy called Tater.
What kind of puppy is
Yeah, he's a mixed breed. He's my favorite kind of dog. And he doesn't like to respond to his name yet. Any tips?
Well, you want to make sure when you first introduce his name that you're not screaming and yelling at him, because otherwise you think his name is associated with being bad. And sometimes that mistake's made because the people get mad at dog and say, okay, Joe, come, and they're yelling at him. Well, then his name becomes something bad.
Well, your work with autism is very admirable. Do you spend more time on that or more time with ranchers?
Well, I spend a lot of time on autism too, but I want to still be doing livestock things because that's my real job. And one of the big things I work on is get some of these smart, quirky, nerdy kids employed. See, autism is a big spectrum, going from someone that remains nonverbal for their whole life all the way up to the geniuses on Silicon Valley. And we've been working with some of the sustainable agriculture things. There's a lot of quirky, nerdy kids where this would be a great field for them to be in. You've got to find something they can kind of believe in and do, but also find mentors that can mentor them and get them turned around. When I was in high school, I didn't want to study, but my science teacher convinced me that I needed to study because if I wanted to become a scientist, then I needed to study.
And something that's interesting, I've heard you say that you get bored about things fairly.
Yeah. Well, the thing about being on the autistic spectrum is you get fixated on just one thing. Well, you can take that fixation and broaden it out. Get these kids out and show them interesting things, and then get fixated on something they can turn into a career.
Well, my daughter, as I told you, was 25 just recently, and she would be delighted to get your movie and your signature here. Okay. We're at the Acres USA conference, and Dr. Grandin has been speaking. Her movie is going on right now for people who haven't seen it yet. And thank you for taking time to visit.
Very well.